My name is Edward Sapiano, and I'm a lawyer. When I graduated from law school 13 years ago, I thought I had paid my dues, but the hardest part was still to come.
We're going to watch 4 aspiring lawyers in a 12-month test by fire called articling. Will they crash and burn, or be transformed into the real thing? Quinn Ross is incredibly driven. But instead of big money law firms, he's opted for quality of life. He's chosen to live and work with his parents in a rural law firm.
I don't want to look like an ass in front of my parents' colleagues.
But Quinn loves a challenge.
It's wartime, it's go time.
Can a small town serve Quinn's ambitions, or will his goals change? Aisha Chaudry is a recent immigrant with 2 preschool children. She lives with her husband's extended family.
I'm misbehaving. Who is Tom?
Working at a legal aid clinic with disadvantaged people in crisis is more than just a job.
It's a reflection of my faith.
But can she juggle home and work?
All I want to do is just rest.
Or will she be forced to make a choice? Bill Thompson is a sweet middle-class idealist from the suburbs who's committed to defending the underdog.
Important kind of situation to try to defend the little guy.
Articling at one of Canada's top criminal law firms, he's about to enter a whole other world.
This is where the rubber hits the road.
Will his lofty principles survive the year?
I haven't become an alcoholic or anything like that yet.
Christine Wiseman is insecure but ambitious. She's the only professional in her working-class family. Now she's articling at a corporate law firm, but she's terrified the law's not for her.
I don't want to do it.
Her fiancé Kevin is in for a rough ride.
But Kevin!
If she quits, 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears go down the drain. In this episode of Almost Legal, Christine decides on a challenging specialty, litigation.
I was always interested in litigation, but I didn't really know what it was.
And Aisha faces her first refugee tribunal. The odds aren't good.
It's very hard to win a Mexican case.
Aisha's client is a Mexican man who claims his life was threatened by drug dealers when he refused to fix their stolen cars. She has to prepare him to testify by questioning his story contained in a legal document called a PIF, Personal Information Form.
Going over the PIF again, I've come up with some more questions that the other side can probably ask you. In your first PIF, there's no mention of being threatened with a gun. And yet you mentioned that in your second PIF. I think you just made it up to make your case better.
Y usted lo debe haber inventado.
En mi primer PIF hubo pérdida de información.
It was not made up because it really happened to me. And what happened with the first PIF is that lots of information was missed. It was never read to me, I just signed it. They're going to really come against you because they're going to say, you put, as Aisha says, you put things in your second PIF, threats, death threats. That's an important thing. The gun. And what they're going to say is, you decided your story was weak, so you improved upon it.
All right, if you were in real danger of being killed, you would have left immediately after the visit by the men.
Yo me pude ir inmediatamente.
I could have left right away.
Pero mis hijas, mi esposa.
But what about my children and my wife?
I agree, and that there's documentation on that.
Well, it's a difficult case. I've tried to tell her not to be too upset if it's negative because it's very hard to win a Mexican case.
But if you were in real danger, you would have told friends and family.
Mexico's not a war zone, so it's very hard for people to be granted refugee status in Canada.
So that's that for today. That's that.
Okay.
I've covered all the issues and everything. Hopefully it's given you some practice for tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Aisha has to make the tribunal understand that in Mexico, drug trafficking and police corruption could pose a serious threat to her client's life.
I've been sort of preparing this case for so long, so finally the hearing's taking place tomorrow. I just hope that we get a good judge, and I hope that we win the case, really.
When Christine was a kid, she dreamed of having horses. Now that she's almost a lawyer, she's convinced her fiancé Kevin to take her to a stable to learn to ride.
Apparently I asked my dad, like, what does the man do that owns all the horses? My dad said, oh, he's a lawyer. And that's how he got all his horses. So I said, oh, well, if that's how you get horses, then sign me up, apparently.
Think you're done then?
Yep.
I don't know. Does it pass inspection?
I'll get the white glove out and see.
Okay.
And we just need to get a helmet, and you're ready to go.
Told ya.
Yeah, you want to
I'm not wearing a
protect
helmet.
that.
I'm not wearing
Then
a
you're not
helmet.
getting on.
That's what I said. That's what I said to her. I said, you're the big fat lawyer.
Safety comes first.
That's right.
Christine wants the lawyer's lifestyle. A big house, a stable of horses. But she's discovering that learning to ride is not that easy.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
Squeeze a little bit of leg on and ask him to trot on.
It took 3 years of struggle through law school for Christine to finally realize her childhood fantasy. But articling is a make or break year, and it may be a long time before she gets to live the high life.
That was too fast.
Back on the reins slightly and say, whoa.
Oh. You gotta kind of be in control without looking or acting or yelling like you are.
You look good.
I just
So
want
do I
to
have to
learn how to
start?
do it without being a freak show.
The lawyer you become says a lot about who you are. Aisha's decision to practice law was motivated by her faith.
I would say that I'm a spiritual person. Islam is the kind of religion that it really affects every part of your daily living. You have to dress modestly, being honest, telling the truth, your behavior to other people, respect for the elderly, kind to children. From the moment you get up to the way you have to clean yourself, the personal hygiene. Spirituality is not just saying the 5 daily prayers. It really affects my whole being and how I live my life.
In choosing to practice poverty law, Aisha's been able to incorporate her spiritual values into her professional life.
In fact, we only advise people who are the poorest and the most vulnerable in society. They find the legal process very intimidating. They wouldn't really be able to do it on their own. And so in that sense, my work is a sort of reflection of my faith. At times I would go for a job interview and I wouldn't get the job, and I knew that it was because I was a practicing Muslim and I covered my head. And you know, if some people don't accept you, well, that is, as far as I'm concerned, that is their problem, not mine.
The articling year is a chance to find out what you're good at. Christine's always been attracted to the drama of the courtroom.
In mock trials in school, I always thought that I did really well because I consider myself a public speaker and I could think on my feet. But in school, you don't do all the dirty paperwork to get there. You just argue it.
Christine is fiercely determined to get what she wants. She consults with a senior lawyer at her corporate firm about what makes a good litigator.
There is this competitive edge to it. As you probably found out yesterday with my victory, I mean, everybody starts talking about it. I like to win, and in litigation it is somewhat of a win or lose scenario. Yeah. You're going to have to feel confident in being in court and being able to deal with the stresses that come with it. It doesn't leave a very good feeling with your client when they see you panicking. That's part of the game, is to learn to deal with the problem and to respond accordingly. With me, it probably took about 5 years before I had that real comfort level.
You got big shoulders, I guess. So,
Unless you have any other questions.
Of course, litigation is competitive. But what Christine still has to learn is that to be a trial lawyer, you have to win to stay in the game. Aisha argues her first refugee case, but the odds are against her.
They're probably here on borrowed time.
Four young lawyers, 12 months, in a test by fire called articling. Aisha's faith guides her to help society's most vulnerable. Her Mexican client fled with his family to Canada after death threats by drug dealers.
Refugee cases are never easy, and we just got to hope for the best, really.
Christine's chosen to specialize. She's decided on litigation, which suits her personality.
There is this competitive edge to it. I like to win.
It's the day of the hearing. Aisha's been working on this Mexican family's case for several months.
I think that she is really focusing. She's certainly got the key issues. She is slightly unsure of herself in maybe some of the procedural matters. I'll go with her, and if there is any issue or if she should freeze or something, then I'll be there to help her.
But if Aisha loses, Her client and his family will be deported to Mexico, where their lives have been threatened by drug dealers. As for Christine, she's been anticipating this day for a long time, her first appearance in court.
I don't think that I have a real style yet. I'm not as aggressive as some lawyers are.
But things aren't going as planned. Her opponent wants to push back the court date.
The agent for the other side phoned and wants an adjournment of the trial. They're not prepared to go ahead. So, the discussions we had yesterday were basically that we would consent to an adjournment if they were willing to agree to give us costs, and they weren't prepared to do that either. I didn't really think it was right. This is just a stall tactic.
Christine's ready to fight for her client. If the defense wants to postpone, they'll have to pay for it.
I'm excited. I'm not nervous because I know that I'm prepared and ready to go.
Christine's definitely feisty, but it takes more than attitude to win in court. If she loses, she may be forced to reconsider litigation. We were not allowed to film the proceedings, but Aisha's clients are thrilled with the way things went in the refugee hearing.
I think it went well. Our client, he did quite well, answered the questions properly. I was a bit nervous in the beginning, but then when I got into it, and then I seemed okay. And the adjudicator seemed quite nice as well. He didn't give his decision today. Occasionally they do. I'd love to say that we won. I think we may have, but it's just hard to say.
She was a little nervous. She acted with a lot of personal grace, and she certainly presented herself and was very favorably received by those in the hearing room.
Aisha's boss liked her performance, but did Aisha convince the tribunal that her clients deserve to stay in Canada? Christine's first trial takes an unexpected turn.
So, the most ridiculous thing is that the other side didn't show up at all. So I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I was the only one left in the courtroom. He had faxed in a letter to the court yesterday saying that he was going to request the adjournment, which now makes me think that maybe he knew all along that he wasn't going to show up today. So they did have his request on file, and he was granted it. I was kind of disappointed that he didn't show up, though. Like, I wanted a little bit of a fight, but I didn't get one. The good thing is that we got costs, quite a substantial amount for what we did there today.
But it never feels like a real victory without a court battle. Christine's competitive edge comes out.
I'm carrying the team, of course.
4 young lawyers, 12 months, in a test by fire called articling. Aisha became a lawyer to help those in need. Her clients fled Mexico after death threats by drug dealers. Will she win their refugee claim?
I'd love to say that we won. I think we may have, but it's just hard to say.
Christine's dogged determination pays off. Even though she didn't argue her first case in court, she learned to think on her feet.
We got costs, quite a substantial amount for what we did there today.
Working in poverty law, Aisha is never short of clients. Every afternoon, the legal aid clinic opens its doors to walk-ins.
It does get really, really busy sometimes.
In the middle of her hectic day, Aisha's surprised to see the wife of her Mexican refugee client. She's extremely grateful for Aisha's help and insists on making a donation to the clinic.
And my husband said me, I give it to you, a check.
It's all compulsory. You don't have to do this. Only if you want to, obviously, and only, sort of amount which you think is not going to cause a hardship.
He feel I have to.
He wants to. He wants to. All right, if you two really want to, yeah, then that's okay. We'll accept that. And thanks a lot for that. Just for that reason forward, but really, thanks a lot.
Waiting for a verdict isn't easy for Aisha and her client, especially when the whole family's future depends on it.
Okay, bye. Thank you. Okay.
It doesn't surprise me that Christine wants to be a litigator. She hates to lose.
Get down there.
She and Kevin have decided they better hit a few balls if they want to be contenders in the company golf tournament. But you can't win them all.
I'm carrying the team, of course.
Ask the rest of the members of the team that.
The best litigators always show grace under pressure.
Get in the hole!
For a nasty, dirty round of golf, that was pretty good.
I played good.
Golf sucks. It's the worst game in the world.
I like the first 9.
She's not a natural on the golf course, but just like litigation, to be good at the game, you gotta practice. Aisha's busy day doesn't end at the office. After a 40-minute commute, she picks up her son Danish at daycare, and then it's home to her daughter and her husband's extended family. She and Kaleem have only been married for 4 years.
Poor one, yeah.
Kaleem's mum and my mum, they're both first cousins. So they knew each other, although Kaleem and I hadn't met.
It's sort of traditional within the community that we belong to, really. I mean, there's no dating in that perspective, really. My mum let the word out. I was hoping to get married, right? And then I was lucky enough to meet Aisha. We just clicked. I mean, I just thought she was the kind of person I was looking for, really. Yeah.
How does Aisha keep it all together? Does she ever get a moment to recharge?
But I don't really get a chance to sometimes sit on my own and do something. And so at work, I used to find that time sometimes. So in that sense, work was pretty relaxing for me compared to home life.
It's clear quality time with her family is really important to her, but so is her desire to practice law. Talk about grace under pressure. But what about burnout? The verdict is in on Aisha's Mexican refugee case.
We worked really hard on them.
4 young lawyers, 12 months, in a test by fire called articling. Juggling a number of clients at her legal aid clinic, Aisha's still waiting to hear if she won her first refugee tribunal. Her Mexican clients are counting on her.
I just hope that we get a good judge, and I hope that we win the case, really.
Christine put herself through law school, landed a job at a corporate firm, and got her first crack at litigation. The next hurdle is her wedding.
No, I still hate it.
Not only has Christine enlisted family members to help her choose her dress, she's hired 2 wedding planners.
This is my grandma.
Hi. Hi, Pet.
Clearly, this is even more stressful than deciding on litigation as her specialty.
She's my aunt.
Hi, Lisa. Nice to meet you.
So tell us about your parents. What are they doing? Are they excited?
Like as if my dad's at all interested in anything.
No, but what about your mom?
Your mum didn't want to come up and see you try the gown on?
Yeah, she's kind of into it.
You know what? She'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Come. Ready?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
We've chosen.
You'll have to change your colors for the wedding, Chris.
Sorry. It goes with the tattoo, Christine. Your grandmother wants to see what you look like. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, you look gorgeous.
I don't know, like, this is not the place where anybody wants some girth.
It's okay to have childbearing hips. You have to have lots of children. Okay, one more. Wow. Wow. I should get a veil for you to see the whole ensemble.
So what would Kevin like the best?
I don't think you care. I like it.
That can go over your face too a bit. When you walk down the aisle. Yeah.
Just in case you decide to change your mind.
People still do
that.
that.
Yes.
So they don't see you crying and that when you walk down the aisle.
That's beautiful. You know what, Christine? That is gorgeous.
Beautiful. That's it, baby.
Are you happy with that?
Good? Yeah.
Another milestone in a hectic articling year. Christine has chosen her wedding dress, while Aisha has to deal with a bitter disappointment. The verdict on her Mexican case is finally in. Her client's refugee application was turned down.
I really thought I'd won that because I thought it went well. We worked really hard on them. Remember, we had to get them in so many times.
It went as the best we could do. We presented the evidence we had, but we're not the decision makers.
Yeah.
You know?
It was quite disappointing.
I think you did a very good job with fairly limited facts, okay?
Thanks, Madam.
You know, and I don't think you should be ashamed of what you did. You did the best you could with what you had. And the fact is that sometimes you are going to have clients where despite what you do, it's not a winning case. You work very hard, you do the best you can, so you have a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
But whatever happens, it stays at the office and you go home and you have a life.
Yeah, that's true.
Because if you don't do that, you're not going to last.
Yeah.
All right? You have to harden your heart to that because the burnout rate is very high, and if you don't learn to leave the problems at the office, knowing full well you've done your best, then you're going to have a problem. Okay.
Good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quinn's corporate dreams could pay off big time.
It puts me at the helm of a lucrative, fast-moving, progressive corporation.
And Christine gets another chance in the courtroom.
I want you to come out and hit this guy hard in terms of his not having anything relevant to say.